I've been on the podcast before, and in that podcast I told my story of how I got into age group racing. My name is Grant Paling. I'm 43 years old, just as a reminder, and I've competed for GB a couple of times and qualified again for this year. And this time I brought a friend along. It's Marcus, and Marcus and I met just over 2.5 years ago. Marcus is one of my sponsors, and also I use the coaching app that Marcus is the founder of.
Thanks. Marcus, I not in the UK, although I did live in the UK for 3 years, from 2013 to 2016, when I worked at Oxford University. And I got into triathlon at 2010. I'm 40 years old now, unfortunately. And I started a company, AI Endurance, to help triathletes, also runners and cyclists, to train better with AI. Like Grant said, we know each other for 2.5 years now. And Grant has been a sponsored athlete and given us a lot of valuable feedback too on how to develop the platform.
And we've got 2 for the price of 1 on this episode of the Agegroup Multisport podcast, featuring Grant Paling, who was previously on the podcast back in January 2025, and he's brought along Marcus Rummel, who is the creator of AI Endurance. So welcome back to the podcast. The last few months I was struggling to get anybody to come on the podcast and share the journeys. That's the first time in 6 years that that's ever happened. And Grant got in touch and said that he would like to come back on the podcast, but bring Marcus with him and discuss about him using the AI Endurance platform in his training to help him qualify to represent GB at Agegroup. Now, having had Paul Larson on from Athletica AI on previously a few years back and used that platform myself, I was quite intrigued and interested to see how Grant was getting on with the platform and actually how much these AI platforms had actually progressed since I'd used one a few years ago. So it was a really good insight into how not only does Grant use the platform, he's also sponsored by Marcus and helps in a way, I guess, by using it to develop it and make it better for athletes' experiences. So a really great conversation from both Grant and Marcus, and we delve into how Grant uses the platform and also what the platform's all about and how it came about. Marcus explains why he created it in the first place. So that's all coming up. Like I mentioned, it's been a while since we've had a guest on, and in that time, not being sat idle, not having the podcast to do for a few weeks, give me the opportunity to finally get an ebook published on Amazon KDP. You may or may not have seen it on my socials. It's the 1001 Triathlon Tips. I've done a video about it on YouTube, so you can head over there to the Agegroup Multisport podcast YouTube channel and watch that video and find out how it all came about. But briefly, it was just an idea that started 5 years ago. I'd started collecting tips and writing them all down, and I got to about 360 tips, and then the project got shelved because life took over. Again, we got back to normal after COVID. And it's only over the winter that I found the file, and I thought I should really finish this. So that's what I've done. And it's now available on Amazon for you to have a look at. And there's 1001 tips there from all different aspects of triathlon. So give it a look, see what you think. You can leave feedback on Amazon, and that would be much appreciated if you do go down the route of getting a copy. So that was quite exciting to get that out. it's always a bit nerve-wracking to do something new that you've never done before, and this ebook was no exception. I didn't know anything about publishing or creating a document like that, and another curiosity, I guess. I've done a YouTube video about curiosity and how far it's got us, and that was another instance of being curious, and the 1001 triathlon tips as a result. From a training point of view, the year just goes from bad to worse. I was supposed to be racing again at the weekend at Burley House or Dalby Forest. I hadn't really decided which race I was going to do, either the aquathon or a off-road duathlon. Turned out I didn't do any of it because over the last 2.5 weeks I've picked up some sort of virus. Don't know what it is, but it knocked me for 6 and I hadn't trained. And I'm only just getting back to some form of training now. And today, as I'm recording this, I've been for a swim. First swim in about 3 weeks. So, yeah, getting back into it. Hopefully I can kick on now for the rest of the season and actually do some racing. That would be nice. And maybe try and do a couple of qualifiers. Still got videos going up on the YouTube channel. The latest series is a feature called the Triathlon Penalty Box, where we take something every episode and put it in the penalty box. It's a bit room 101 for things we don't agree with or like, or we think should be banished in triathlon. It's light-hearted. I enjoy doing it. It's quite fun. So look out for that on our YouTube channel. A couple of podcast episodes to share with you that I've quite enjoyed. So the first one, it's quite an old episode actually, but I came across it, and it's from Agegroup Triathlon podcast. One of my friends told me about this podcast, and on this episode it had Verity Miles. She used to belong to British Triathlon. She's since left. However, the topic that they talk about was how you qualify and all the different nuances that Agegroup throws up, and Verity describes it really, really eloquently, and I thought it was worth mentioning, and it's really worth a listen. Anybody already in Agegroup, but anybody who wants to get into Agegroup. Like I say, things may have changed. This was back in February 2025, but the main interview is really worth a listen if you're interested in Agegroup racing. So that's the first one. And the second one is Jan Frodeno's podcast called Going Mental, and it features Lucy Charles-Barkley, and really candid interview about what happened after Kona, and really enjoyed that. So that's really worth a listen, and he's got some really good guests on there, and he's pretty good at this interviewing, like. So those are two of the recent podcasts that I've been listening to. Lots of sport on the TV, mainly cycling, if it's got to be said. I just love the cycling. But we have been dipping in and out of the triathlon as and when it's been on. And we watch a bit of the T100 and the World Cup triathlons, where you've got quite big names taking place trying to get points towards the Olympic qualification for their countries. So yeah, been lots of sport to watch. Right, time for the main event. Time to listen to Grant and Marcus's story, and we shall see you as always on the other side. Oh, welcome both of you, Marcus and Grant, to the Agegroup Multisport podcast. It's a real pleasure to meet you, Grant, to have you back on the podcast after over a year. And if you'd just like to introduce yourselves, who you are, where you're from, what your background is, take it away.
Great. I'll go first. So I've been on the podcast before, and in that podcast I told my story of how I got into Agegroup racing. My name is Grant Paling. I'm 43 years old, just as a reminder, and I've competed for GB a couple of times and qualified again for this year. And this time I brought a friend along. It's Marcus, and Marcus and I met just over 2.5 years ago. Marcus is one of my sponsors, and also I use the coaching app that Marcus is the founder of, and I thought I'd bring him along. and get a slightly different take on a slightly different story this time. So, Marcus, over to you.
Thanks. Yeah, Marcus, not in the UK, although I did live in the UK for 3 years, from 2013 to 2016, when I worked at Oxford University. And I got into triathlon at 2010. I'm 40 years old now, unfortunately. And I started a company, AI Endurance, to help triathletes, also runners and cyclists, to train better with AI. Yeah, and like Grant said, we know each other for 2.5 years now, and Grant has been a sponsored athlete and given us a lot of valuable feedback too on how to develop the platform. Yeah.
Cool. And Marcus, what sort of distances do you favor when you're doing triathlons?
Sorry.
It's okay.
I did a bunch of Olympic triathlons. Honestly, I haven't been racing that much. My best season was probably 2018 or 2019. Did the Olympic in just over an hour. And then I did one half too. But yeah, I mostly like the local. I live in Ontario in Canada, so I mostly like the local sprint and Olympic distance events. Yeah, got to do a few more this year. But honestly, since I started the business and have kids, it's hard.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
hard to just train.
yeah. I say
Yeah.
this quite a lot on the podcast. It amazes me how these, like Grant, how they've got kids and they fit it all in. I could never do that when I was, when my kids were smaller. It was like we didn't have any time. They were that busy themselves, and I didn't start this till after they'd finished doing what they were doing. They were 18, 19, 20. So anybody doing this, when you've got younger kids or just
Yeah.
teenagers, it's just very commendable.
Yeah, I mean, our kids are 3 and 5 now, and the last 2 years have been a lot better. But in the beginning, they don't sleep, right? I mean, at least ours didn't, and so you're just so tired all the time.
Yeah.
You can barely do your job, and then it's like, I don't know. I remember being at the bottom of a hill that I would love to go hard on, and I was just like, I just have nothing,
Brilliant.
And on
Brilliant.
top of that, running your own business as well. I mean, that's
Yeah.
another dimension on top of being a parent of young kids. Fair
Yeah,
play to you.
absolutely. Incredible. Just on your business then, that's quite a nice segue in. I did go on your website and had a look at your history, and it made absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. You've got all these papers published, which obviously physicists just give us a bit of a explanation of your background and how that's evolved into what you're doing now with the AI endurance.
Yeah, for sure. So I used to be a physicist. I still consider myself a physicist, at heart. And I did all kinds of like totally unrelated things. I did particle physics theory. I worked with astrophysics data from satellites. But I did do some machine learning. And this was like back in 2014, 2015, 2016. So people forget there was already an AI hype back then, but just like completely dwarfed to the AI hype that exists today. But it was a much more, not a mainstream hype, but in the, scientific and computer science community, there was definitely a huge hype already around machine learning back then. And I just remember using these, machine learning things in my research, and at the same time I was very much at the time and still am into the data, like the power data, the heart rate data. How should I train? How come some people can go hard every day, I can't do it? What's the difference? And I just remember thinking that it was kind of shocking that the apps at the time, thinking about like Strava, Garmin, they just really didn't give you any like actionable insights. I would say it's all like today was your best 10-minute power ever, or this year or whatever. That's not exactly, that's great, but it's not, I felt like it wasn't living up to the potential. Like you could learn so much from the data, right? Like we're literally especially in running and cycling, we're literally tracking, a lot of us are tracking every second of everything we do, right? Like there's a power, heart rate, cadence, elevation data point for literally every second that we do. And then there are also races or times when we kind of go as hard as we can. So it's like there must be a way to correlate your training with your performances so you can actually learn something from it. And it's like ultimately it should be, here's what you should be doing based on what we have learned from your data. And that really was and still is the core of AI endurance, I would say. And it's a completely different, now it's not so crazy anymore, but at the time it was pretty crazy idea, I would say. And everybody just thought, oh, this will never work. AI can't do anything. These days it's like, oh, AI can do everything. So
yeah,
it's changed, but this is also a very different kind of, it's not like your language model. It's like a very specialized model that learns from this very particular data, how you respond and how you should be training. And yeah, I just really wanted that for myself mostly. And at some point I had the crazy idea that maybe I should make this available to other people too and create an app. And here we are. I started the business in 2020. I had definitely started to work at it as a side project, probably the year or two prior, but like I fully jumped into it in 2020. Yeah. And that's still basically what it does. This is still the core functionality is we call it like a digital twin. So you have your digital twin that the app can experiment on what training you should do, what would be the best result. And then after some experimentation, it'll tell you what you should do. And now there's all kinds of other modern AI, if you want to call it like that, or LLM-based AI, Gen AI things around that we try to incorporate to help people with their training. But yeah, that's the core.
Cool. So how does that compare with, you said you started back in 2020, and I think I mentioned to Grant last time he was on, I had Paul Larson on from Athletica AI, another platform. How does your model compare with Paul's or say Tridot or those types of models?
Yeah. I know Paul, great guy. They have a slightly different approach. I wouldn't necessarily say one is better than the other. I would say, and I don't know everything exactly how they do it. Okay, I can only so take this with a grain of salt. But my understanding is that they don't really build the digital twin at the same level of depth and at the same level of effort monitoring, whatever, that we do. And instead their approach is more a sports science informed approach. So they have Paul himself is like one of the best researchers in the world in sports science. And they have all this knowledge, and they try to build the training plans based on this knowledge. But it cannot be as personalized as building like a model for each person and then letting the model decide. So that's more like our approach, is to be not purely data driven, but like very, very data driven, and have less sports science informed decisions, so to say. Because and probably, honestly, it probably just comes down to me being a physicist and Paul being a sports scientist. I just have less faith in the sports science.
You want to see the proof?
I'm just like, yeah, who knows what really what really the truth and what really the optimum is, we can only, sports science is like a very hard to do science, because you don't human beings are very complex machines, and I think there's something to be said for this approach where you just kind of just go by the results, just go by the empirical things that you can figure out, and try to optimize based on that. But that being said, it's not like we're ignoring sports science. We are also, I mean, there's many things that flow into the platform that are just basically follow straight from the sports science literature. We have published sports science papers too, but we're just not as opinionated about what the right way is from the sports science point of view. But it's more like it's more is up to the data to decide ultimately in our approach.
So,
but it's an interesting question, what is actually the right approach? And I think there is space for more approaches too. And ultimately, I think it's nice that people can figure out what works for them. I think both Athletica, we have a 14-day free trial. I think Athletica does too. So you can just kind of like see for yourself, what gives you more value.
Cool.
I think it's also interesting. I mean, what interested me, and going back to Marcus's original point about what's actionable, like obviously, I've been using Garmin. I've got all my kit is Garmin watches, bike computers. So I've had Garmin for a long time. Then Strava obviously has started to do more and more of that stuff coming in. But I mean, when Strava first introduced the athlete intelligence, for example, it was a bit like it was repeating back to you everything that you put in the title and your description of the event, sort of back to yourself, back to what you put, with some stats there about this was your fastest run for 30 days. You know what I mean? It's not really a long-term coaching plan. It's more like it felt like more kind of on the spot interpretation of what do you do with that. Whereas my experience in working with AI endurance has been a lot more, and it's evolved really. When I first started using the app, I did a bit of a review of the market, read your kind of comparisons, just Googled what's the best AI coaching app to use.
And can you remember what came up with that?
I
What
think
platforms were there when you were searching for some AI coaching?
I'm fairly sure Athletica was there as well. I'm very sure, I think it's Humango was there. So there was 3 or 4 that had been reviewed. I can't remember by who, but one of the sort of triathlon magazines. And, and again, they all had pros and cons. And for me, I'm quite into the data. So I remember saying, talking about building a digital twin and that being the approach. And I work in cybersecurity. So there's a lot of that kind of, from my personal understanding of data science, is quite good. So I kind of understood, okay, I get it. I understand how they're doing it. That sounds pretty good, but it was all in the trial really. Like, I took up the free trial, looked at it, and just saw an instant kind of impact of I feel organized now.
So sorry, Grant, would it be useful for us, for the audience listening, to go through actually the steps of what they can expect? Do they download an app first, or what's the process of like? I know I've been on the website this morning and had a look, and you can start it from there. But is it usual that you download an app, and then what details do you need to put in, and just the whole process really?
Yeah. So, Mark,
I mean, you can talk between yourselves there. You can both have a bit of input in that.
Yeah, I mean, I can. You download the app or you use the website. Doesn't matter. And the crucial thing is that when you sign up, you connect whatever app you're using. We're pretty well covered there, I would say. So Garmin, Strava, Coros, Suunto, Wahoo, whatever you're using. So because this is a data-driven platform, it's important that the data actually comes in. And then and also that you can execute the workouts from your device that you're using. And then you basically just have to enter a few basic things like your age and so on. And you say what you're training for, what your sport is, triathlon, running, or cycling, when your event is, and then you send it off. That's all you have to do. There's a lot more fine tuning that you can do after the first sign up, which is like, how much time do I have exactly every day for which sport? And now with generative AI, we can actually people can enter, we call it a system plan prompt. So they can write out in words what they like, what they don't like. Somebody can say, you know what, I commute every Tuesday and every Thursday for 30 kilometers, and I want to do my intervals on the way to work, and I want to do an easy recovery ride on the way back. And then the program will respect that and build the plan around that. And there's a lot more things. I don't even, I mean, I do know, but it's all a blur in my head.
No, but it really is. I mean, the thing that struck me was signing up and creating that first plan, just thinking about how many hours have I actually got per week. Because previously, when I've been doing it on my own using spreadsheets and generic plans, well, generic plans give you a specified number of workouts per week. They're not adapted to you, and they're not adapted to your schedule and all the kind of things that life puts in the way. Right? How much time do you actually have to train? And start being more realistic about that. And that's a good starting point to say, I've got this much time. What can I do with it? Like, how can I get the most out of that time? And that's what I really loved about it. The simplicity of being able to go, I've got this much time. Okay, I'm going to split it between this many hours cycling, running and swimming. Always less swimming, of course. But that's just my personal preference, being not a good swimmer. But you can then set it up how you want, and even say on certain days, like Marcus said, me, for example, I can say build it around my club sessions as well. So I've got certain staple sessions of my week that I know is going to be an interval session typically. So I can say this is when that's going to happen each week and build a plan around that. So you can put those kind of focal points in. And the goal races as well. So you can put your A race in, but also your B and C races leading up to that as well. And the plan respects that and builds in taper time and things like that. So, and this is one of the first blog I wrote for Marcus was, each blog was kind of organized around the question. The first one was, I don't have time to train. What do we do with that question? Well, you do have time to train. The question is how much and how can you get the most out of it? And that's why I'm really passionate about working with Marcus and being a representative of it, not just, because I think Marcus has created something great, but also from an athlete's point of view, being able to tell other athletes, you do have time to train. You might not have as much as you would ideally want. Who does, right? But with what you've got, let's get the most out of it. And, you've had a lot of people on here, Richard, with different approaches to that, talking about it, using the data-driven approach of this is how many hours a week I've got. Here's everything you know about me, about my performance history. Here's where I am right now, and here's where I want to be. Here's where my goal race is. Where can you get me to? And this whole thing is kind of been a little bit of an experiment, for me as well, to say, how far can I go being coached by AI? Because, not everybody can afford, we talked about, recently there's been a lot of talk about age group racing, how expensive it is, cost of kit, cost of getting there, cost of racing. On top of that, the cost of coaching as well. And I think human coaches as well can benefit from being more driven by AI. And a lot of them are starting to pick that up. And I know, Marcus, you've been working with a few coaches recently where it's helping them increase their bandwidth. So from a coach and athlete point of view, it's really, it's becoming, I think, why not use AI to enhance everything that you can do? What's interesting for me is from day one, the app was built in so that you could link it to your ChatGPT. From the first time I was using it, at least, and it seems like that foundational approach that you talked about, Marcus, of having a solid foundation of data is kind of paying off more and more. The better that AI gets, or the better that generative AI gets to be able to interpret that data, the better the experience is going to become. And that's definitely something I've noticed, especially in the last 12 months. The better that generative AI gets, the better the app experience gets. And I guess that was a big bet you made, Marcus, with the platform, right? Which was, if we can build a solid data foundation, that's going to pay off later on. Was that a conscious thing for you?
No.
Just honesty.
I don't know. I did not see ChatGPT coming or LLMs coming. I have to be completely honest. I had no idea. But when it happened, I definitely knew it happened, right? So, and it is an interesting. I think it is a very Yeah, it's a great chance actually, because one way to think about the app prior to LLMs is that it kind of turns your like your training into a math problem. It's like, okay, so given your constraints, like you said, how much time do I have, and given my limitations that are in my model, I'm going to only improve so much if I do this or that. What's the best solution? What's the solution? And it's a math problem at the end of the day. And then we give you the solution. That's been the product basically pre LLMs. But the thing that I thought was always missing, and where LLMs fit in really nicely, is like humans cannot execute the solution to the math problem like a robot, And it's like, we kind of had like in principle, like you have your training plan mapped out, but whoever follows the training plan to the end? Nobody, right? Always something happens. Like you get sick, you get busy at work, maybe you get injured. I don't know. Like nothing. It never goes to plan, right? So at the time we had that. So adaptability is crucial. Otherwise, it's like a non-starter. And we could build the adaptability way better with LLMs than we ever could have, because it kind of like it can kind of reason, right? Like it can look at like, well, what did you do? What were you supposed to do? And then it can help you get back on track. And it can definitely, at this point, for sure, make those decisions for you and help you. And it's like, or you would have a coach, I always thought it would be nice also to have a coach, to use AI endurance with a coach, where it's like, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is my plan. And basically the coach doesn't make the plan, but the AI makes the plan. But then the coach helps you like, deal with the plan and adapt the plan when you have to. And now we're doing both. Either the athlete who uses the platform without a coach can benefit from LLMs. Or we also have coaches now using the platform. They can use LLMs to kind of keep up to date with what's actually happening with their athletes, spend way more time with the athletes that actually need the attention, as opposed to like going through everyone, taking forever to find out if everything is on track. The LLM can just tell them if everything is on track or not. And then they can pay attention to those that are not on track and help them get back on track. And also, like you said, with the ChatGPT integration, this deep numerical understanding of a person, the digital twin, this is not going to be in an LLM ever. Like this is not how LLMs can learn, really. They don't understand, if you do this training, then the response is that you increase 5% for you personally based on this model underneath you. So really the best thing to do, I still think, is to combine both worlds. So, like give the LLM access to all the data that the digital twin and other data we can record generates, and then give that to empower the LLM to help you as much as it can help you. Yeah.
Cool. Can I just ask a question? Not being a physicist or into this at all, what is an LLM?
It's a large language model. So,
right.
So ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, yes, they all have a particular LLM under the hood. So it's a machine learning. It's a machine learning model, but it's like a huge machine learning model. Yeah, and it is language driven. Language goes in, language comes out mostly. I mean, can also use it for images and stuff, but yeah.
And I think that's the common, like you said, Marcus, AI has been around actually for quite a long time, but it's the large language models, the feeling of talking to a machine and it talking back like reasonably like a human. Like some of it is not necessarily. We start to be able to read now what's been written by an LLM and what hasn't, especially if you look in things like LinkedIn and lots of posts, you could tell what's been written by robots, right? And I think having that kind of front end on it, I've definitely changed the way that I use the app. So one example is there's a daily check-in. And when I first started using the app back in 2023, I would do the check-in once in a while. Mainly because when I used it, I kind of got a very similar response. So it would be, this is your recovery status, this is your heart rate recovery. This is, you put in things like how you feel today, how your legs feeling, how's your shoulders, core. So you put in all of that data and it give you an analysis. And initially, Marcus, right, that looked fairly similar every day. But now, and this is a really good update that Marcus has brought into the app, which is it takes you to the chat when you do the check-in. So then you're actually having a daily check-in. And again, it's not replacing a human coach, but if you haven't got a human coach to talk to,
Mm.
it's that sanity check in yourself. Going, I think I'm going to miss the session today. Is that all right? Where do I need to make it up anywhere? What's using that data foundation to make a good decision? If you haven't got a coach there to guide you, and I think that's the difference. I think if you're a person that needs the accountability of having a coach, really needs them to keep you in check, and you need to talk to a human, you still need to do that. Where there's another kind of market, I guess, is athletes who are quite self-accountable and just want someone or something to sanity check this decision I'm making. Is it the right one based on the data? So give me the data, give me the confidence, that I'm making the right decision. Ultimately, if you're feeling rubbish, you're feeling rubbish. So you're going to not do it anyway. What you want to know is what's the impact of that? Going back to that kind of, right, based on the data, what's the action you should take?
Mm.
And that's what's really changed the game for me in terms of now I use the daily check-in every day. And that's because I can have more of a conversational feel than back when I was first using it. So that things are evolving all the time. I think that's the beauty of having this data set is the more time goes on, the more technology is edging the robots closer and closer to
Yeah.
human beings while still being very far off on an emotional level. On a decision-making level, it's definitely changed,
Yeah.
even in the space of that 2.5 years, which is quite amazing, really. And I think is it gives you that middle ground between I want a full-on human coach guiding me, being accountable for me. The apps that are there that don't give you what you want. It's that middle ground in between where I want access to the data. I want to be able to really get a good picture of data to help me make the decisions, give me a plan, and then use my own accountability to guide myself. And that's kind of the journey that I would say I've been on the last 2.5 years, and I've seen really good results from as well. I mean,
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about your progress on that then, because
yeah,
you have been doing it for that length of time.
yeah.
What have you seen?
Well, I asked the app this morning actually to see
Did
what it
you?
would say. Yeah, absolutely. A bit of prompting took place, and interestingly, I was asking it a few of the key metrics on the platform. So, how many hours per week on average am I doing? What's my we're measuring kind of effort in ESS score. Maybe Marcus, can you just talk about what ESS score is?
Yeah, ESS is called external stress score. So basically, if you ride 1 hour at threshold, it's a 100. So if you do like an easy ride, it'll probably be like 30. So just like for a gauge, 1 hour threshold, 100 ESS.
Is that similar to TSS that they have on?
Yes, for a copyright reason, we're not
Yes.
using
But it's
TSS.
a similar. Yeah, of course.
It's not the same though. It's not the same. For the lawyers listening, it's not the same.
Well done.
But it is a similar idea to give someone an idea of
Gotcha.
how much stress. Yeah.
Measuring effort, basically, right?
Measuring effort, yeah.
So you've got time, you've got effort. I've also been measuring, of course, power numbers and on the bike and running speed. So I thought, let's see over the past 2.5 years, how has that looked? And actually, I did write a blog about this actually after my first 12 months to look at how many hours a week was I doing and compared month by month. So there's a blog. I can give a link for the listeners to go and check it out. And in that blog, in the first 12 months of using the app, I was only doing 30 minutes more per week. So I was doing slightly more, but for, talking about using your time more effectively, it was almost, I didn't want to use the app to get me to do more hours because that wasn't the point. That wasn't the challenge. So yeah, I think on average I was doing half an hour more per week, and I'm probably doing, an hour more per week now than when I started. So that time hasn't increased that I've had available. Maybe getting up one or two more extra early mornings now than I was because the kids are a bit older, but materially the time available hasn't changed. And but I've been putting in, I've been averaging more hours per week because I've got that structure, right? I've got the plan that's adaptable. I can drag and drop activities if they don't suit a certain day. And the output of that is I've been doing more hours per week. And in fact, in the last 12 months, that average, I've done just over an hour and a half per week more. So there has been an increase, in terms of me sticking to the plan. I think that's the one of the outputs. One of the other ones is that ESS score has gone up 2.5 times since those initial 7 months, right? Then looking at the 2.5 years, it's gradually risen. And I think, again, that is me sticking to the plan, not replacing workouts with, doing what I'm supposed to do. And you feel that quality in the workouts that you're doing when you stick to a plan. I definitely have felt that, especially this year, when there's really been a part of me, because I'm qualified for GB again and racing later this year in the Duathlon World Championships. That's my main goal for the year, and I'm really excited about it. And every inch of me wants to go more and more and more. But what I've realised is the time hasn't got many more available, but I have felt quality in the sessions I'm doing. I've really been focusing on sticking to the plan. And some of the output in endurance is telling me, it tells you a compliance score for every activity now that you're doing. So that's another sort of trigger to say, stick to the plan, and you're sticking to it or you're not, and that's just another thing in your mind to give yourself a sanity check to go, right, yesterday I didn't stick to the plan, so let's really focus on the rest of the week to stick to it. And then, yeah, in terms of a running pace, I've gained more than a minute per mile off my 10K pace, which is, phenomenal results. Half marathon taken, I think, about 12 minutes off my half marathon time in 2 years, and 22 minutes off Half-Ironman as well.
Wow.
So the results are there if you follow it, you use it, and the good thing is it's got a record of all that you can just easily go, I've got a podcast later on, I need to talk about this. Let me go and chat and see what's happening. But you can ask those kind of questions all the time as well. So yeah, I think that kind of tracking of data, the in-plan adaptation is a big one as well. Again, with the chat. Again, when I first started using the app, it was fairly fixed around this is the plan and execute the plan over 12 weeks, say. Now the kind of in-plan adaptation of the model I think, has improved. Marcus, you tell me if I'm wrong, but that's definitely been a big thing as well, because things don't always go to plan, and you kind of need to sort of stay on the straight and narrow when you're training for a big event.
Yeah, those things have improved a lot, and they have improved most. Well, it's definitely a very interesting time we live in, because your check-in experience is actually everything about this in a nutshell. Because maybe 2 years ago, you had to tell the LLM exactly what it had to do, or it would screw up like 50% of the time or worse. Like, you had to say, okay, first you're going to look at this data, then you're going to look at that data, then you're going to take, intermediate result X from that, and then you're going to compare it to the workout. And you're going to do it like this, like this, like this, like this. And then you had a chance that it would be sensible. But now it's like, in fact, if you do that, then you get predictable results, and people are expecting a lot more, right? They're not like, well, I want to hear similar things all the time, even if there may be similar situations, but they know, they use the other apps, they use ChatGPT, they use Claude, they use Gemini. So they're used to a certain standard, and they're also used to a certain level of improvement every week, basically. And what you build for working with LLMs 2 years ago is like completely useless today. You have to move a lot faster, and you have to rethink everything all the time, which I love personally. Like, I'm not being sarcastic, it might sound like I am, but like, I actually love that. And now you can, to go for the check-in, you can just say, check-in, here's the information, not even say, here's the information, here are the tools to get the information that you may or may not need. You decide, and see what the user says, and then you respond to that. So it's kind of more like, it's more like you would talk to a human, where you would be like, look, here's where you can look these things up, and then someone's going to come ask you something, and then talk to them, which is of course way less guardrailed and predictable, but if the intelligence is there in the underlying system, then it's a much better experience. And that goes for many more features. It's like, I would say it is very much like a coach who would look at what you did and what you were supposed to do, and then can help you get back on track. And it has that intelligence to not like do common mistakes. Like, for example, say you missed a bunch of workouts. A classic mistake would be to cram those into what's coming up, right? To kind of try to make up for it. Like in all the tests that we do and so on, the new models, they, as long as you somewhat guide them, they don't make those mistakes. So yeah, it's amazing what you can do now.
So just because all this AI, like you mentioned, Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT, it's all moving so fast, isn't it? Everything is just developing so quickly. With your app, how often do you have to update it to keep up with the speed of all these other things that are going around? How does it work?
Well, it depends what you mean by an update, but like there's like about 20 updates every day.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would say that is slightly increased, not slightly, maybe double from what it used to be a year or so ago, because also the tools to develop have also improved so much. Like I can produce so much more now than I was able to do before, because the AI coding tools are so much better. So it's this interesting situation where you're racing to keep up, and you can just actually produce a lot more and make it a lot better. And I think at the end of the day, who really, assuming the competition does the same, who really benefits is the consumer. Like Grant, you guys, because like you just get better and better stuff.
Yeah. Well, we've seen it, like
at
I said,
a
on
much
those
quicker and quicker pace.
Yeah, we've seen it on the common platforms, haven't we? Like ChatGPT. It's just remarkable how much it's come on and how fast it is and how it's growing. So will you see a time where it'll be self-auditing itself? It'll be self-growing itself?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Do you mean like it's like self-promote, like it's doing the marketing too and everything?
Not necessarily the marketing, but building its own updates and things, if that makes sense. So it doesn't need the input from a human, because it sees what else is out there and it can take all that information in and update itself.
I don't think we're there. I don't know if we'll ever be, because the thing is, at the end of the day, it got to be for humans, right? So of course they could do like, okay, look at what everyone else does and do some mishmash version of that here too. And I don't think it's going to be very good. There's a community, and there's things that people like and things that people don't like. And there's a million things that I want the platform to have and that everybody else wants the platform to have. But I think that's a very fine line to then make those decisions and have an identity and what you actually stand for. And Grant was mentioning LinkedIn posts generated by AI. Like, we all know, right? We look at it and we're like, oh, this is not written by a human. Like,
yeah. To the point where the human ones start to stand out, and actually that's a good thing. It kind of brings you back to, this is where humans are more capable. I think it's also that kind of human oversight keeps grounded in, there's a very common phenomenon that AI can hallucinate and tell you things that just aren't true if you kind of let it. So there's got to be that kind of control and guardrails around it. But it is definitely, I think, physically and mentally and in every sense, AI is making us faster, right? And that's going to be interesting. And I think you already sort of see it. It's going to be interesting to see how the age group scene develops Richard, right? Because you see more and more people getting into it. The competition is getting stiffer. Everybody now has more data than ever before, whereas, before that data didn't exist. So maybe you had more gaps between the kind of level of competition. Now you go to an age group event, it's absolutely going to be absolutely stacked with people that are capable because more and more people have this access to structured training, structured data that they can use. And then, it comes down to very small margins and, who is using their time the best, not necessarily who's got the most time, but who's using their time the best. Who's turned up on any given day. Mentality is obviously a massive part of it. You've had people on here that are champions, and a big thing that always strikes you about people that are champions in sport is mentality, and that's really what separates us as humans. That ability to kind of push beyond. I read about this in one of the other blogs that I did for Marcus as well. The kind of human side of it is what AI gives you is the numbers, right? What the AI coaching gives you is the confidence to go and execute a plan. But that extra 10% that's going to get you across the line, you've still got to go out there and do it. And that's the difference maker, right? If you have two people that have the same data, it might be the mentality that it really comes down to. And I love that, actually. I love that part of it that, and that's got to be something you think about in any given race is, I've got to be ready to race. I can't just show up and go by the numbers. Interestingly, the half marathon I did in March, Reading Half Marathon, I caught up to a friend of mine and I were racing it together. I beat him by 13 seconds last year. And I caught him with about a mile to go last year, and then sort of caught up to him, said a couple of words, and then had a bit more in the tank the last mile. This year I caught up to him with about a mile and a half to go. So caught him slightly earlier. He always goes off faster than me. And I caught up to him and I said, he didn't know I was coming. I sort of snuck up behind him. And I said, if you need any more motivation, this is it. I might have had it, there might have been a swear word or two in there, but I won't ruin your podcast by saying that. And then without that, he would have probably stayed at the same pace. And he went on and I went on as well. And we both pushed each other. And in the end, he beat me by 7 seconds, which I wasn't happy about, but also kind of happy for him after last year. And we both pushed each other on. We wouldn't have made that without that. We were both, spent the first 10 miles running to our pace, running to what we believed we could do. But in those last moments of a race, it's kind of seeing how far you can push it. But I think the good thing is going into a race now with that confidence, the data behind you saying this is what you can run. And what you get in AI endurance is you get leading up to your goal race, there's a kind of progression path that shows you your kind of what you're expected to do, and then an upper and lower threshold. And maybe Marcus can explain that in a second. But that's great because that gives you something to aim for. And also with that upper or lower threshold, you've got then that almost like stretch target, if you like, of this is what I could do if I really apply myself. And using that to push you on. So giving you that kind of grounding in the data and then letting your mentality give you that confidence. And the difference between that is before I was using the app, before I was coached, I was just turning up to race thinking, yeah, I could probably do that time. But that was probably more wishful thinking. And actually, I wouldn't end up doing the time. I would always be under what I thought I could do. Whereas now, more and more often, I'm turning up and I'm doing what I know I can do. And that's really the confidence that should give you, and it does give you.
Yeah. Well, that makes. I mean, yeah, you've done all that training. It's in the bank, and you have got that confidence. It's a massive boost on race day, isn't it, for anybody?
100%.
As long as you can turn up,
knowing you can do it.
As long as you can turn up there fit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the key thing.
I mean, AI also doesn't at least our app doesn't protect you against having a bad day or getting sick or
your bike crash.
Nerves.
Bike crash. Yeah.
Nerves is a big one as well, isn't it? It's, yes, all the human elements. Yeah, it can't help with that. So yeah, pretty cool. Well, it's such an interesting topic. I mean, when Grant was on a year ago, I'd previously had Athletica AI and used that myself. Paul kindly gave me that for a year after having him on the podcast and sort of promoting the app, which was completely new at that point. And you know how things have moved on so much. It'd be interesting to go back on that and see what it was like now, how much it's changed, because it was quite basic. You know, you put all your details in and it gave you the plan, and but it was quite static. So yeah, how things have come on with AI and everything else, the speed that it's going, it's just I think it's exciting times. Must be exciting times for you, Marcus.
Yes. Yeah, very exciting. I mean, I don't know. I've never had so much fun. Been doing this for 6 years now, and I've never had so much fun as I have now, for sure. Um, yeah, it's a great
So
time.
where do you see it going then? Where do you want it to go?
Um, you know, I don't really see like a finish line or something. It's more like I feel like it can always be better, right? I mean, I don't know. The difference is I have a massive to-do list, and now I get things off the to-do list quicker.
Mm.
And but then there's also more things coming onto the to-do list quicker. Like I think there's always something that you can improve, and people tell you, like people always tell you what there is to improve, or what could be done, and wouldn't this be cool? Wouldn't that be cool? And because the underlying technologies have changed so much, there is so much. It's not like it's not like you need to think really hard what you could possibly do. Like I don't know, like to give you an example of something that love is, people have requested, is you could actually have very tailored nutrition plan, basically for every training, right? Because we do some nutrition features, but you could say, well, these are the kind of gels or things, bars and bananas, whatever I eat during my ride, and we have some integrations coming up with like the bike computers directly, so maybe that they can tell you, hey, now eat your banana, or like, so you don't forget, and all those things, they would have been so complicated to do 2 years ago, and they're just like, yeah, of course can be done. It's just got to be done, and it got to actually work, which is still a lot of work to make that happen. But yeah, I just think that I really want to make the app to give people as much value as possible, and to just keep improving that and keep maximizing the value they get out of it. That's the single goal of this company. Yeah.
And what are the current exciting topics that you're looking to implement onto the platform that maybe sooner or in the next year or so?
Yeah. So we just launched a coaching portal. So for coaches, so if there's any coaches interested, you can now use. We have a big coaching company here in Canada use the app now to coach their athletes, and they love it. It really helps them to manage a lot more people better than before. And the thing that will come afterwards is the thing that's like next. The next big project is durability. So like Grant said, when we currently our plans, they optimize. If you're running a half marathon, they will be optimizing your half marathon pace. If you're doing a sprint triathlon, they will be optimizing your 5K pace and your FTP typically, and plus swimming, obviously. But what I would say is missing, and there actually has been a lot of sports science on this in the past few years, is it doesn't matter, like your threshold matters, but it also matters how much of your threshold can you still do after X amount of hours. And especially after, in the longer events, let's say half and upwards, it really matters that you can be durable, that you can maintain a high percentage of your threshold for a long time. And we we have made some good steps to actually measure that. So basically, you relate your internal response to your external response. If you're breathing harder, if your heart beats faster for the same effort, then obviously you're not as durable if it kind of stays constant, right? So what we're looking to build is to, first of all, have a really nice way of showing this to people. So when they look at their data, they can see, oh, these are where my weak spots are, or I start to fall apart after half an hour, like me currently. At first half an hour during the ride, heart rate, I'm fine, but then that's it. Everybody else still fine. More fit people, are they falling apart at 2 hours? Are they falling apart at 3 hours, right? Then as a next step, then to also let people optimize that. So if you're doing a half, it won't just optimize your thresholds, it'll also optimize your durability that is appropriate for that kind of event. And I'm very excited about that. Also, if you see, for example, in pro cycling, there's been a lot of emphasis around this, right? Because for them, the pro cyclists, often it's like they'll ride around for 6 hours, not necessarily easy. Sometimes everything is hard, but then they really have to perform at the end of it, right? They have to perform at the last climb or during the last 10 minutes of the race. So there it's been very obvious that matters, and the people who have pursued this, they have had a lot of success. But I also think that this is very irrelevant for running events and for triathlon events. Probably everything that goes beyond sprint, it is relevant.
Sounds good. So Grant, going forward, how long are you going to stick with this? Is it going to be another few years? You're going to keep with the AI? Do you ever see yourself getting a real coach?
It's not,
mixing the two?
it's hard to say, really. I think the reason I haven't gone with a real coach to this point is maybe that I couldn't commit fully to it. With the kids and the work schedule. That said, I want to stay faithful to Marcus, right? And like I said, I mean, who knows where it'll be in 2 years' time, right? And I like I said, I really want to see how far I can go, being sort of AI coached. I see myself as a bit of an experiment. Let's see how far we can take this thing. It will be very interesting to see. I think as long as I keep seeing the gains, which I am, the app keeps improving. Who knows? Maybe in 2 years I'll be talking to an avatar based on with Marcus's face, maybe through the app.
Hopefully not my face, but yeah. Don't leave me.
No, I mean, and Marcus has been really supportive as well. Obviously, as one of my sponsors for the age group competition. So I thank him. Thank you, Marcus, for that. I don't get to say that very often. So it's been fantastic working with him, and I really believe in what he's trying to do. And like I said, I think if there's a takeaway for people that are either established age groupers or looking to get into age group from this, it would be that, if you, especially if you feel like you are bound by, money, you can't afford a human coach, there is an alternative, and it's one that can work really well for you, especially if, like a lot of us, you are motivated, you're accountable, you just need some guidance and structure. That's really what it's been massive for me, to have that, and it's taken me to a different level than I thought was achievable. So,
cool. Brilliant. And it's improving all the time, as we know.
Yeah.
With just general AI, it's just going to get better and better and better, isn't it? So, well, listen, guys, thank you ever so much for your time. Have you got anything else that you'd like to add that we haven't covered?
Not really. Maybe just like a final thing for AI versus human coach. I would say it's a different. It's not like one is better than the other. It's not that it's just like one dimension against which you compare them. It's that AI can do certain things better. Like it can look at all your data, it can look at all your sleep data, all your last 100 rides, every second of power in 10 seconds. No human can do that, but it also can do certain things. It's like not as close to you. It cannot see you do stuff, right? So if you have a really good coach, I assume they can they'll actually see you run, and maybe there's something there that they can pick up on. They have that personal connection to you. So depending on what you're looking for, and I still think ideally you combine the two, but one is definitely more affordable than the other.
That's for
That's
sure.
a really good point. Like, I mean, also, if you remember, you've generally got sessions where we've got track sessions where it's not just the intervals, it's the technique part of that session as well. It's the swimming sessions, big shout out to the Tunbridge Wells Triathlon coaches. Like, they really, take the time to look at you. But there is still a limitation there that if you had a personal coach, they could really look at your form and wear in great detail without maybe having to vie for that focus with anywhere up to 17 other people, let's say, across 3 lanes. So there is definitely a mix, and it's almost like a graduating path. But that's one of the hacks I would say I've used is using everything that's available to me and getting the most out of it, which includes some human coaching, right? But there is no substitute for that focus. And I think Marcus is right. It's not comparing the two. It's really looking at you as a person. What do you need? What do you want to get out of it? And fitting that against your lifestyle, your budget, what's available.
One more thing that I think is often not emphasized enough about LLMs or Gen AI that in this time we're living in is that you can actually use systems to learn, So Grant, when you were saying more and more people use data at age group events and get a power meter and so on, it used to be that you would have to put a lot of work in, or maybe talk to someone that doesn't really know either, how explain to you how to use those things or how to make sense of it. And what we all have with apps like AI Endurance, but also ChatGPT and so on, is like an endlessly patient tutor that can pick us up exactly where we're at and explain everything to us as many times in as much detail as we could ever possibly want. And I feel like there's a lot of emphasis on, I want AI to do this for me, and I want AI to do this job for me, so I don't have to do it. But there's also that learning that is often underrepresented. And, you can also use AI Endurance or other apps to really learn about triathlon, about what you should be doing, about what works, what doesn't work. And yeah, just wanted to say that.
And I think, Grant, looking at what you're doing, and you've just hit the nail on the head there. You're still in a club, so you're getting that human contact and the element side of triathlon, which, let's face it, that's the sport that we're in. Yes, the longer distances can be quite lonely, can't they? A lot of training on your own, but generally the club's where it's at from a social point of view. And then you're mixing that with the AI endurance. So it just seems to be a nice balance that you've created there.
No, definitely. I mean, for an individual sport, it is such a social sport as well, because everybody wants to talk about it and everybody wants to talk about data as well. You've got a lot of data nerds out there in the triathlon community, and that's why having access to this kind of data is great if you really want to go down the rabbit hole and really delve into this kind of stuff, because there is, like Mark said, there's no limit to the amount of questions you can ask, and it might always give you the answer you're looking for, but you can just keep going and going and going. Yeah. Whereas if you had a human and you're like, well, you've asked me 20 questions now, we've been here for 3 hours, can you stop, please? It's never going to say that. So yeah, it's a great point.
Perfect. Well, listen, again, thank you ever so much for coming on. Just tell us the website, and Marcus, so people know from the horse's mouth how to get hold of the platform.
Yeah, so just Google AI Endurance or aiendurance.com. And yeah, you'll find everything, the links to the apps, everything you need. And it's £13 a month.
Perfect. Well, Marcus, good luck with it. Hope it just continues to thrive. And obviously, Grant, good luck in Abu Dhabi if it comes to fruition.
Fingers crossed.
Just on that, I know this is a bit of a side note. What are your thoughts
on Abu Dhabi?
Yeah.
Well, I hope it goes ahead, because I was really looking forward to racing there.
But what do you think? Do you think it will?
I think that's an impossible question to answer at this point.
When is it?
It's in November. What I've been telling everyone
Okay.
when they ask me that question is it's still time, but that time is very rapidly dwindling away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets moved somewhere else, I'll go and race it somewhere else. I mean, that's my A race.
Yeah.
Um, if it gets moved, probably to Spain,
Yes. Yeah.
then we'll go and race. Then I'll go and race there. Like, it's really, I'm determined to do that race this year. It's everything I've been training towards.
Yeah.
First World Championships, so I've done 2 European champs. So I'm really excited about that racing.
Yeah, it's a massive difference between the Europeans and the worlds. It's
Yeah.
just a completely different kettle of fish, different ball game. So you will, hopefully, fingers crossed, you will be able to experience it. So,
So yeah, I can't tell you whether it's going to be Abu Dhabi or not, but I'll be there wherever it is. I can tell you that. So
well, good luck with it all, and good luck with your training. Have you got any other races coming up?
I'm
Qualifications?
racing this weekend at the British Championships in Burley House for standard distance duathlon. And then I've really got to start swimming again because I've got some triathlons after that. So I'm doing Eastbourne, which is a regular of mine, and still to be identified a couple more. But I definitely want to get a few triathlons in over the summer before focusing back in on duathlon. But yeah, it's been a bit of a joint focus this year, and I've really enjoyed getting more into duathlon and still kind of getting into it really understanding the different type of race it is. But yeah, maybe we can. You're going to be at Abu Dhabi, I guess, if it goes ahead, Richard. Are you? Or...
Yeah, I've qualified as well. And Mrs. C, she's running the aquathon team.
Yeah. So maybe
Yeah.
maybe we do part 3 there and talk a bit more about the duathlon journey.
That would be great. I'm up for that. I think we were in Paloma. She was managing the team there, and I got a couple of guys on while they were racing. So yeah, I like to do try, and obviously I don't want to. If people are racing, that's the focus. I don't want to, put on people. But I had a couple of guys who were interested in coming on. So yeah, anytime, brilliant. Well, listen, thank you. I'm not going to take any more of your time up. Lovely to meet you, Marcus. Like I said before, good luck with it all. And we might catch up again.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on.
It's a pleasure. And thanks, Grant, again. Great to catch up again. And hopefully we'll see you in Abu Dhabi.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks for having me back.
So there we have it. We have an athlete using... So there it is. We have an athlete and a creator synergizing in the world of AI. Thanks to Grant and to Marcus for coming on and putting that athlete, user and creator of the AI endurance platform together and giving us a better picture of what we can get out of using one of these platforms. All the details will be in the show notes. If you're interested, head over to Marcus's website for AI endurance. Just type it in Google and it'll pop up, and there's lots of information on there. £13 a month. If you're interested, give it a go and see what you think. Grant obviously likes it, rates it, and it's not done him any harm, so proof's in the pudding, as they say. If you'd like to come on the podcast and share your story, please do get in touch. You can drop us an email at agegroupmultisportpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Instagram at amp_podcast. Facebook is Richard Joseph Conway. We're on YouTube at Age Group Multisport Podcast YouTube channel or AmpGB. Like I mentioned earlier, you can find the 1001 Triathlon Tips on Amazon. I shall leave the link in the show notes. It would be great if you did get hold of that, if you could leave a review. That would be much appreciated. As always, your support is really, really appreciated. Hope your training's going well. If you've got some races coming up, hope you smash it. We'll see you in the next episode. Don't forget, stay safe, keep training, and love the process. Connected to Richard Blackman.